I will also like to start by welcoming everyone to this info day that the project BIOSCHAMP is organizing, titled Mushroom Production, How Does it Contribute to Food-Driven Water Resilience? As you may remember, this is an event that is organized within the EU Green Week of 2024 that is focused on being water resilient. So I'm going to briefly introduce myself. I'm going to be your host today. I am Beatriz del Toro. I am a biotechnologist, and right now I work at Innovarum as an innovation consultant. In Innovarum, what we do is to help entities secure EU funding for achieving this, like making their innovation reach the market. So what we do is deliver excellent, high-quality results that can help them get to the next level and reach the market. Our mission is to foster innovation in the agri-food sector, and we also focus on bioeconomy. For that, or through that mission, we hope to support a sustainable, cutting-edge and potent agri-food sector. And with that, we want to also empower rural areas. We have been working on this since 2013, and we carry out two types of actions. Mainly, we write proposals for EU funding programs, but we are also involved in as partners in the execution of some projects. One of those projects is BIOSCHAMP, which is the project that has brought us here today. And in that project, we are dissemination and communication partners. So I wanted to refresh your minds and remind you of the agenda that we are having today. We have started at 12:30, and after this brief introduction, we are going to set the scene. And with that, we are going to showcase how different European projects are trying to push Europe towards greater sustainability. In this part of the event, we are going to have two talks. One from the BIOSCHAMP project that is going to explain how mushroom production can be in line with an empowered Europe. And we are also going to have the Ultimate project, which is also a European project focused on revalorizing water residues or residues within the water cycle. Then we will move into the discussion with the experts. I will introduce them in more detail later on, but I hope that you are looking forward to this part, because I'm sure that it will be very enriching for everyone. And then in an hour, we are going to close the info day. So before we start, I wanted to explain to you how you can engage in our event. First, I wanted to let you know that the session is being recorded only for dissemination purposes. If you want to participate in the event, you can ask your questions using the chat, not the mic. As you can see, it is not available for you. You can post your questions on the chat, and we will ask them after project presentation, so after the first lot, and also after the discussion with the experts. That's the two slots that we have allocated for your questions. So without further ado, I will move into the presentation of the BIOSCHAMP project, titled Growing Mushrooms, Empowering Europe. First of all, I understand that you may not be familiar with the BIOSCHAMP project, so I wanted to let you know what we are doing here. Our goal is to find ways to boost profitability and sustainability within the mushroom industry. What we are doing is develop two alternative and sustainable casing materials that can be used in the mushroom industry. These alternatives are an option to reduce the amount of peat used in the mushroom industry. This project is formed by 13 partners from very different expertise areas, and we cover overall 7 European countries. As I mentioned before, Innovarum is in charge of the dissemination and communication of this project. The European Commission granted us 4 million euros to carry out these activities, and we started in October 2020. The project is lasting 4 years, and we are ending our activities in September of this year. So I understand that not all of you are familiar with how mushrooms are harvested, so I just wanted to give you a brief introduction on the matter. There are 3 steps that are involved in this process. First, we need to prepare the compost. This compost is typically animal manure, and in that compost we include or inoculate, that's the technical term, the mushroom spawn. Then we move into the application of casing soil. That is the main focus of BIOSCHAMP. This casing soil, typically peat, is used to induce the fructification of mushrooms, meaning that it is used to create the typically form that we are all familiar with of a mushroom, the parts that we eat. What we are doing in BIOSCHAMP is create a more sustainable, cost-effective, and pesticide-free solution. And then the mushroom harvesters collect the mushrooms that are used for to be sold to the customers. So in all these steps, how is water involved in the process? Well, actually, it is involved in all of them. In the first step, we need to use water to prepare, first to obtain the manure and then to prepare the manure. And we need to have in mind that manure is a material very rich in very different nutrients, and thus it has a risk of eutrophication of different water bodies. So this compost needs to be handled very carefully. Then in the second step, the casing soil, typically mushroom growers pre-wet the casing soil before using it on the crops. And of course, to grow the mushrooms themselves, as any organism, we need to add water. So we need to water the crop. In these last 2 steps, it's very important to have in mind the moisture retention capacity of the casing material, because it's going to determine how well the mushrooms grow, if they have enough humidity or if they are too dry to grow. But also, mushroom growers need to have in mind that too much water is also an issue for their crops, because it can facilitate disease outbreaks, and it can also determine how the disease is behaving. So, how can we grow mushrooms in a way that makes us see water differently? What we are doing in BIOSCHAMP is analyzing very well these 2 alternative casing soils. And for that, we have already carried out a moisture retention capacity characterization. So we know how well our casing materials could work. We have also studied the potential to substitute peat at lab scale. And with all that information, we have moved into the industrial tests. And in that case, we are carrying out the trials. We are wrapping them up right now. And they involve 4 producers from 4 different countries. That grants us that we are going to have very different types of mushroom production checked during the project. And in these tests, we are looking for 3 key parameters, among others. One is the crop performance. The second one is the watering that we are that the crops requires, if we are needing less or more water to grow the same amount of mushrooms. And finally, we are also supervising disease outbreaks and their behavior. So if you would like to know more about our trials, about how everything is unfolding, I encourage you to check our practice abstracts. I also encourage you to check our infographics. You have already received one, but there's another one coming soon. And of course, you can follow our newsletter and see our developments on scientific and industrial publications. Lastly, as I mentioned, we are ending the project is ending in September, and we are hosting the final event the 5th of September. So if you would like to know more information, it is coming soon. And for that, you can check all of our social media. If you scan this QR code, you will be quickly directed to all of our social media, and you can follow us online there. I'm going to close my presentation here, and I will give the floor to Andrea Rubini, who is going to be the presenter for Ultimates project. As I mentioned, Andrea, Ultimate is focused on revalorizing different aspects of the water cycle, and Andrea is going to be telling us about it and also participating in the final discussion with the rest of the experts. So I wanted to first thank you for participating and then encourage you to share your own slides.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. Thank you for this great opportunity to present. I hope that you can hear me well. To present the Ultimate project and be able to contribute to this exciting workshop on the BIOSCHAMP. Let me share my screen. I think that you can see the first slide. So I'm going to present the Ultimate project, which is an Horizon 2020 project that, by the way, is going to phase out in October 2024. So we have still few months left. The project is supported by quite an important number of partners, and has also generated, and we can see in the logos, the bottom of the slide, also an alliance of 5 projects coming from the same call for proposal called CISO, the CISO Alliance, they're all concentrated, all their efforts is about reducing closing the loops of water and fostering what we call a water circular economy and society. Just a quick introduction of Water Europe. I said you are on one of the partners of the project. Water Europe is the European Water Technology Platform, which is the recognized voice and promoter of the all water-related innovation, research and technology development in Europe, and I would say also to some extent beyond Europe. And we advocate to achieve what we call a water smart society, which is a society where water is available in the right quantity, in the right quality, at the right time, and an affordable cost. And we identified 3 main key objectives, which is water resilience, water security, and water sustainability, which require to work on, you see, 5 different areas. One is about, the overall approach with about circularity, the multiple waters, the digital water, so for the next generation management, and inclusive water, which is the governance, because technology by itself won't be enough to address the challenges of the upcoming big challenges of the water sector, and working on the infrastructure to make water ecosystem resilient. Now, what is about the Ultimate project? The name of the project, Ultimate, means the industry water utility symbiosis for a water smarter society. Smarter water society. It's led by KWR in the Netherlands. It has, 16.6 million euro as a budget, and you see, started in May 2020, we were just, in the middle of the COVID. I can still remember the kickoff meeting online, and it was going to phase out in October 2024. In a nutshell, Ultimate was to create those economic value and increase sustainability, and introducing circular symbiotic systems and settings between industry and water service providers. And there's a reason for which you can see that there are three main areas. There is the reuse water, exploit energy, and recover materials. This is all about circularity and industrial symbiosis. So now, I mean, it is stimulated by the ultimate project. Of course, it's water reclamation and reuse, but really abandoning, I mean, the linear concept. So it's really reuse in a circular economy approach. The exploitation also energy and heat and the reuse of nutrient and other materials coming from the extraction and the use of the wastewater streams. All this technology innovation are made available time by time and shared to the Water Europe marketplace, which is a legacy from another project which is called the Next Gen that phased out in 2022 and that generated, I mean, the marketplace for water circular solutions. As you can see, I mean, the ultimate covers quite, I mean, a wide area in Europe. I mean, from north to south, from east to west. That also, I mean, has been able to provide really different views, perspective, and results beyond the commitment in developing the case studies because of climatic, socioeconomic different conditions. So we have 24 pilots in 9 case studies. Now, the word symbiosis between industrial sectors and service providers is not that easy, I mean, to figure out what is a symbiosis is, but then I mean it is all about having, I mean, 3 main points in terms of symbiotic arrangement: partnership, because we need to create, I mean, the symbiosis on a common understanding on the problems and the way to address the problems. The co-ownership of the water service providers co-located by the industries, you know, they need to have, I mean, the capacity of catalyzing and fostering the symbiosis. And then the provision of services that are oriented to industries and commercial companies about water smart industrial symbiosis. Now, the case study 2, which is the reuse of water and nutrients in horticulture in the Netherlands, it is based on the matter that the Netherlands, as you know, is the second largest exporter of agri products in the world. I mean, it's unbelievable if you look at the dimension, the size of the country. The sector, of course, it is characterized by high resource efficiency, but by 2027. All these greenhouses, and we have, I mean, hectares and hectares of greenhouses in the Netherlands, will need to remove nutrients from the wastewater before discharge, which is quite a big challenge. Now, this is the pilot development. The requirements are to have high quality irrigation water and the low concentration of salts, specifically, I mean, sodium, which is quite a challenge in the Netherlands. I mean, actually, we have, I mean, 2 steps because the project, the ultimate project, it is second to another project called Subsol, which represented, I mean, the first improvement step because the Subsol, I mean, the wastewater effluent was used as additional source of water, overcoming seasonal mismatch between the supply and the demand, and so reducing the wastewater effluent. In the ultimate project, there was a second improvement of the pilot in which the drain water in greenhouses was internally reused, and so ends up in production what we call fit for purpose irrigation water. So without entering into a complete loop for which we get wastewater, then we go up to the potable water, and then we go back a bit to the irrigation, but really fit for purpose, so irrigation waters. And of course, getting also nutrients coming from electrodialysis processes. And the case study 2 within the pilot was very much interesting because it was quite, I mean, a large application of the project in which we had a cooperative system having inside, including 60 greenhouses with 160 hectares. They produced quite a large case study. And I can say also, I mean, the collective treatment facility up to 60 cubic meter per hour. So, I mean, quite and the objective was to have a near zero liquid discharge or water discharge. I say always near zero because the zero water discharge might be, I mean, it's a big ambition, but I think that we were close, I mean, to near zero liquid discharge for this project. And at the same time, the proposed circular water system produce, I mean, the really fit for purpose irrigation water. And what is also important because, as I said, sodium is a big problem in the Netherlands, not only in the Netherlands, but I mean, the technologies that are being used have been able to remove sodium and microbiological pollutants, so plant pathogens, quite effectively. And the project has been able to really recall efficiently valuable fertilizers. And this is, I mean, the schema of the electrodialysis pilots that was very much effective because able, I mean, really to separate selectively sodium from wastewater, and then UV technology was used for disinfection. So the first results, I mean, the situation in the beginning was full water discharge. So the first, I mean, result that we had that we reduce, I mean, up to 10 times as the energy production compared, I mean, to the beginning. The water quality, I mean, is suitable for irrigation water. So it means that what we have can be used for irrigating the areas interested by the pilot. Nutrients being accumulated in concentrated stream that are better, can be managed much better than non-concentrated ones. And I mean, the limitation of Na and Cl ions, I mean, in the concentrated streams are really remarkable. And that was, I mean, initially quite a barrier for recovery. As we said, I mean, these technologies have been proven to be effective, and they're going to be a process for having them suitable for the market uptake, so for the full exploitation, and will be hosted into the Water Europe marketplace in the technology evidence basis and in the section of the products. By the way, I mean, this is also an opportunity for advertising the Water Europe marketplace, which is a place where technology providers can upload products that are ready to market, this for free. And we are very much welcoming to host new technology providers, also problem owners, to expose themselves, to showcase their problem or their solutions. But here it is a very quick view of the technology fact sheets that can be found on the project website. And please, I mean, go also through the case studies fact sheets with the results that are online. We also have, I mean, a number of policy recommendations, which is quite important in terms of regulatory learning from the project, that have been able also to have an impact on the EU political agenda concerning water now and in the future years. These are the partners of the project. I mean, quite, I mean, a number of important partners. So if you have a question, they're very much welcome. And I finished. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Well, thank you, Andrea, very much in behalf of all the audience and all the speakers, because it has been a very comprehensive presentation. And I would like to encourage everyone to share their questions on the chat. And in the meantime, I will ask you one that I think is very important. That is, you have mentioned that indeed you are a lot of partners, but actually you are also a lot of greenhouses in this case study. You mentioned over 60. So I believe, in my experience, getting farmers and getting primary producers to participate at such large numbers is very hard. So I would like to know your experience and how you managed to get them on board.
Sincere thanks for this question, because it's a very good point. You know, if you want, I mean, to start from a very high level, you know, I mean, we are all in the water sector, and we know that the SDG 6, Sustainable Development Goal 6, it is one on water. But sometimes I think that we miss opportunities because we don't look enough to another key sustainable development goals, which is the number 17, which is partnerships. So I think that, as I said, technology, it is extremely important. It's needed. I mean, it's a requirement. Research and innovation to have innovative solutions it's always needed. But at the same time, I mean, we need effective governance and we need to create partnerships. So in a partnership, why we are in a partnership? Because the partnership represents a win-win situation for all. So the barriers, the obstacles have been, I would say, I mean, overcome, but I mean, we have been able to put people together by showing that there were advantages for everybody. So the matter is that the first thing to do is to have a common consensus between the stakeholders, between the users and the participants. But it means, I mean, to have them sitting around the same table and identifying the common problems first, because otherwise, I mean, we cannot address the problems if we do not inclusively identify them. And then, I mean, putting together the necessary experience and resources in order to address the problems and find a solution, which means creating a partnership, which is basic. I mean, a partnership, and that's the reason for which in the title of my presentation, I mentioned the world-oriented living labs. Living labs are partnerships, are territorial entities, real-life environment, in which you can put together the problem owners, the solution providers, the government, the business, the users, the citizens, and the research and the academia in order to find solutions by analyzing problems, but having in mind that everybody has a common objective. So partnerships and common understanding on problems and how to address solutions and what to put in terms of resources that are needed to find solutions. It is the key basic requirements for having success in this kind of projects.
Thanks. I think it's very insightful, your point of view. And I totally agree that the inclusion of all stakeholders is key to achieve a solution that is suitable for everyone and that lasts for the long term. So I think we can move into the discussion. If the audience still has questions, we can answer them after the discussion among the experts. So I would like to remind you all about the topic that we are going to cover, that is how mushrooms and how food production can contribute to water resilience. And for that, I would like to ask all speakers to turn on your cameras and your microphones, and I will also give the audience a bit of insight on who each of you are. I will start with Andrea, since you have been already active in the event. So Andrea is the Director of Operations at Water Europe, and you have over 40 years of experience, and you have facilitated transfer of knowledge within different topics, so water resource engineering, energy, and climate change. And he has collaborated closely both with public and private entities. And that, of course, gives him valuable insights on how complex the reality is and how we can navigate this complexity to achieve final good results in the end. We also have as an expert Patrick Kelly from the Directorate General of Agriculture, or DG Agri. And Patrick is a policy officer. I don't know, Andrea, I think I'm hearing some noise from you. Maybe you can mute yourself. Okay, until you speak. So as I was saying, Patrick is a policy officer within the European Commission at DG Agri, and he focuses on various topics, including water, chemicals, and persistent organic pollutants. He holds qualifications in agriculture, rural development, law, public administration, and corporate governance. And he has also worked on projects related to Horizon Europe and a number of joint program initiatives. Then we also count with Emilio Rascon. He is an agricultural technician at the Mushroom Technological Research Center of La Rioja. There, he is involved in the technical development of research and development projects. And all of these projects are related to mushroom cultivation, circular economy, and environment. An important part of his work is to provide technical advisory services for mushroom growers. We also count with Pietro Goglio. He is a senior researcher at the environmental and cropping systems part of the agronomic research unit of University of Perugia in Italy. He evaluates cropping, agricultural and horticultural systems. He applies life cycle assessments to biodiversity, circular economy, and horticultural and livestock systems. He has different projects in which he's involved, and there he assesses the sustainability and the innovation of different agricultural systems, such as mushroom cultivation, livestock production, and crop-livestock interactions. We also count with Jan van der Wolf from Wageningen Research. There he is a senior scientist, and he started his career back in 1986. He is currently leading projects on various topics such as diagnostics, ecology, and management of plant diseases, including blotch, which is a very typical disease in mushroom growing. And in recent projects, he has studied the role of the microbiome of casing soils in pathogens that are present in mushroom crops. He is also involved in projects on sustainable alternatives for peat, and he is focused on seeing how plant health is developing in that context. And finally, we count with Geoffrey Vandenberg. He is the Chief Technology Officer of Newfos. Newfos is a Dutch innovator that focuses on bio-based technologies. And this company transforms leftover materials from biological sources, and they valorize it through protected processes to create things such as mushroom casings, paper, and insulation. Specifically, what Geoffrey does is to bring expertise from the technological part and the process development part. And the final goal is to build the first large-scale factory that can process over 100,000 tons of material each year. Their eco-friendly idea wants to facilitate a closed-loop water system and be large enough to be self-sufficient in their energy needs. So, having introduced all of our speakers, I wanted to break the ice with some general question for all of you. So the thing that brings us here is being water resilient. And one of the main motivators for this topic is that, of course, climate change is affecting water availability. And I wanted to ask you how each of you is addressing this challenge in your respective fields. Perhaps maybe Patrick, you can take the lead.
Thank you, Beatrice, and thank you very much for this opportunity to have this exchange with colleagues here and with the audience online. Yes, absolutely. Obviously, we know that climate change will have an effect on water availability, and that's very clearly seen in food production. If we look at food production either as crop production or indeed in livestock production, there are going to be issues faced. We've seen in recent times, in the recent years, we've seen the increasing level of droughts, the intensity of those droughts, the severe weather events in relation to intense rains, intense floodings across the European Union, and that has had an effect on production, on agricultural production. So again, how are we faced with those challenges? How are we responding? And I think in terms of work that we're doing here in DG Agri, I think we saw the start of the new Common Agricultural Policy period from 2023 to 2027, commencing on the 1st of January last year. Member states were tasked with setting out in those strategic plans what the issues were for them, what their needs were, what they did in terms of SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And so they designed their strategic plans to deal with that in terms of looking at how they could deal with bringing crops that were more resilient or more drought tolerant to the fore. How did we do that? We have agri-environmental climatic commitments. We have the use of the eco schemes that member states can bring into their strategic plans, but also looking at productive and non-productive investments, how they can bring those into sharp focus to deal with the issues that they may face as a result of climate change. And also the key enablers then that help all those issues working in terms of cooperation, again, in terms of knowledge transfer, in terms of how we can apply research. So again, I think today's Info Day is very important and informative and instrumental in that regard, in that it's bringing the results of new science to the fore, and how again that can help in our food production and dealing with the challenges that we will inevitably face in going forward. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I wanted to bring Pietro to the discussion as well, because Patrick, you were mentioning new research, new results, and I know Pietro works on LCAs and the environmental impact of different aspects of food production. So maybe you can comment a bit on this, Pietro?
Well, we have a different perspective than Patrick, but the issue of climate change mitigation and adaptation is relevant to us. In particular, in my research, the choice and if you exclude mushroom, the choice of cropping systems and the crops that requires less waters, maybe they are rain-fed. However, climate change impacts this choice, because some crop that might be available for certain area due to water constraint, droughts, or even flood might be less available in the future. And for sure, we are also thinking about this. Our agricultural landscape is changing. Specifically for mushroom, mushroom are a very intense crop, if we can consider them crops, and they are also contained systems, which simplifies, from some perspective, the issue regarding water. However, they're highly demanding inputs from both as casing material and as for the compost. And our preliminary data indicate that most of the water demand lies in the compost, and is very variable depending on the conditions. So Southern Europe, we have a higher demand. Northern Europe, we have a lower demand, or let's say, depending on the climate. Of course, the focus should be in optimizing the use of water, but in this case, as compost is produced out of high water content material, is also how to prevent evaporation throughout the composting, which is key, contain the losses. And this leads the way to technological solution of reducing the water loss through evaporation while composting.
Okay, so I think this also highlights that it's very important to have this cooperation between different actors, because there's no one that has all the picture in their heads. So we need to cooperate with one another. And that kind of leads me to another question, which is how can the public and private sectors collaborate in a more fruitful way in the future, so we get to have this food production that is water resilient? And perhaps Geoffrey, as part of the private sector, you can comment on that a little bit.
Yes, I can. For instance, we are now operating a pilot factory. We consume quite a lot of water. We run an extraction process to remove the nutrients from fibers, grass fibers, for instance. So we need a lot of water. And what we see, we are currently developing a full-scale commercial plant. And there, of course, a water treatment facility is required to close the water loop. And that's one of the most important topics about this factory. But for instance, in our pilot plants, we can't operate a water treatment facility. So we need to cooperate with public partners as well, which is very important. And it's becoming more and more challenging due to all kinds of legislation, at least in the Netherlands, which is limiting the amount of material we can produce in our pilot factory right now.
Yeah, I think knowing, like, having this tight relationship between policy and what people are doing in the companies is very important. I remember that Andrea presented this platform that they have developed where people can post their technology advances, and maybe that's a good option for companies to show what they are going for and meet policymakers. I don't know, Andrea, if there's this option on your website. Is everyone allowed to participate? How does it work?
The option is open. I mean that it's an open platform. There's an registration. Uploading products and problems is quite straightforward. So that's the reason for which I invite producers, I mean technology providers and problem owners as well. I mean to showcase, I mean, either the problem or the solution. But I would like, I mean, to add, I mean, just a few words, I mean, to what, I mean, the insights of the colleagues. Because, I mean, once again, we need, I mean, because one of the problems that, before you ask me, how did you, are we able to put together, I mean, all these stakeholders together around the same table? This, I mean, opens then another window of challenges, because once again, I think that we need to go. For sure, we need technology. We need to go beyond the technology, and we really need, I mean, to develop as innovative solutions, also new business models and governance models. Because then, in the end, I mean, if we really want to, I mean, to have a sustainable water resilient system, we need to have also quite a robust governance and business models behind.
And since we need to involve all stakeholders, maybe Emilio, since you provide this like consultancy to mushroom growers, you can give a bit of insight from their side. How are they feeling? What are their fears? How could we best support them?
By the point of view of the growers, I think that the main problem in the mushroom sector is that for him in Spain, for example, they don't see that the water availability nowadays is a problem. That is the main problem, I think, of that. Because they think, and also me, that the water use in the mushroom sector in the crop rooms is very efficient because it's a closed system, and then it's very difficult to try that the growers invest in maybe in some more efficient systems of irrigation or something like that.
Okay, so perhaps from the policy perspective, it's important to give growers this push, like give them a safety net, help them make this investment to change their practices from what they are currently doing. I don't know if maybe Patrick, you can like give a bit of insight on the current mechanisms of support that in general farmers have to change their practices.
Thanks. Thank you, Beatrice. I suppose in again, I come back to the I suppose the capacity that the farmers are given through the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy strategic plans, because as with that mechanism, member states have set out how they hope to put in place initiatives that deal with the issues surrounding water and its availability, and how it can be used in everyday farming. And to that end, certainly we're looking at how can we improve water use efficiency. And I think we can see that many member states have looked to digitization and precision farming, and how they can improve their efficiency of water use. And I think that's an important point to make. Also, in relation to I suppose the comment was made earlier about rain-fed agriculture and irrigation, and I think we have to look at those as well in terms of the efficiency of water use. We've heard as well about water reuse in this online event today, and certainly I think those are issues that can make an impact on farmers, and how they can go about their business, and how they can make the most efficient use of waters that are available to them. So I think that, as I say, again, data and the availability of real-time data, sensor technology is again an important aspect that has been brought to bear in some strategic plans, and I think again that has a role to play in improving water use efficiency. Again, though, as I say, the member states have set out themselves in their strategic plans how they wish to approach both their animal and crop production aspects, and have designed those strategic plans to make the best use of that, to make the best use of the eco schemes, and the agri-environment climatic commitments as well. So I think it's looking at each member state's own requirements, and how they can see the strategic plans as addressing their own particular needs.
I think in the specific case of mushrooms, there could be like a running theme within all countries. That is the appearance of different diseases that, as I mentioned, is related to water. So perhaps they are not worried about the amount of water available right now, as Emilio mentioned, but they should be, as you are mentioning, Patrick. But I wanted to ask Jan, how are you feeling about all these topics? How can water truly affect plant health, or in this specific case, mushroom health?
Yeah, first, thank you for this question. First of all, I'd like to stress that mushroom production is very sustainable if you compare it with other production of other crops. So that's a very good thing, but nevertheless, still a lot of water is required. And very nicely within the BIOSCHAMP project, we found alternatives for peat, which are doing well. But then you have to adapt also your water regime. And it may stimulate also the growers to change their system of water provision. Now it's from the top, which can have a large consequence also for the occurrence of diseases. You may also think about supply water in a different way, so that you can avoid these kind of things. So hopefully also the outcome of the BIOSCHAMP project will in the end stimulate the growers to think again about the way water is provided, and possibly even reduce the amount of water used. That's something I like to add. Yeah.
I have the pleasure to have been in your facilities at Wageningen, and I know that you have these very nice chambers to grow mushrooms. And I was wondering if you have had any projects that have dealt with the disease dispersion based on water on mushrooms or on different plants? Or maybe that's something you haven't checked already yet.
Well, what we have seen that at least problems with bacterial diseases will be enhanced at the moment that you have free water on the mushroom caps. So that should be avoided under all circumstances. That's one thing.
Mhm.
And the second, I know that projects have been running on the provision of water, not on the top, but from under the substrates. So and that seems to be can also be done in an efficient way. Yeah.
Okay. So perhaps something to have in mind when new policies are put into the onto the table. And finally, I just wanted to ask you all, how do you think we could boost the education that farmers have on this topic of water resilience? How each of you think we could improve this? Perhaps just to go with the flow of the slide, Andrea, you can start. I know you have published some info sheets on like easy to understand information for farmers. We have done so also at BIOSCHAMP, but perhaps you are also hosting some capacity building events or some webinars. How are you? What are your thoughts?
Well, yes, I mean, we have a lot of experience, I mean, in dissemination and creating awareness and in capacity development, because this, I mean, is another area that we should invest more rather than capacity building, because there are a lot of knowledge that already is in the field and might be just, I mean, there's the need of being better addressed or supported. What we have seen, I mean, in our experience is that putting together, I mean, the different stakeholders always brings them into to positive results, because it is really a matter of even not breaking the silos, but connecting the silos, because the silos represent, I mean, capacity of knowledge. And we don't want, I mean, to break, I mean, the knowledge hubs or the knowledge capacities, but we really want to connect them. So connecting the experiences, connecting the capacities, connecting the interest of different stakeholders in addressing similar problems is the win-win tool that we can use. We have been using, I mean, several tools that can be summarized, I mean, most of the time in workshop and papers produced by groups of projects or groups of experts.
Mm-hmm.
We have several cases, and I mean, these are all available on our websites.
I was thinking also, Pietro, I know that you, like the type of research that you do typically is published as scientific papers, which is not the most convenient way for farmers to understand information. So I don't know if you have any specifics, like specific activities that you carry out to bring your knowledge to the farmers and primary producers.
Well, of course, this is some of my research activities. More and more, we are requested to use participatory approaches. I think the solution to water has many complex issues is a solution that has to be declined with the different actors along the chain. So with workshop together to find a common solution. Also knowing that the solution might change depending on the, let's say, geographical situation, logistics situation, different type of supply. We have experimented also in the BioSCHAMP project, you know, the supply chain can be different, can have a different impact. So there is not just one solution fits all, okay? The way we bring our research a little bit to to the key stakeholders is to involve them in workshop, to do practice activity, and potentially do outreach activities, among others. That's how we approach the open public on this.
Yes, I think we also need to take into account how we reach the final consumers, because they can also shape how primary producers are producing the food. So perhaps that's something that we need to also pay attention to in the future. That, of course, Pietro's comment also, of course, links to Patrick's idea of having these national ways of like detecting issues and finding solutions. So I think you are all on the same page here, which is great. I wanted to ask Patrick how policy efforts are brought to the common, like to the public. I know, for instance, the European Commission creates the EU Green Week. That's why we are all together here. But I don't know if there's any more activities that you would like to highlight or you think are useful in the future that are not done nowadays.
Okay, thank you, Beatrice. Yes, as you have rightly said, we are in Green Week at the moment, and we're participating in a partner event of that Green Week, which is run by our colleagues in DG Environment, and so we're happy to support them and to acknowledge both the crucial importance of Green Week and the messages that it's bringing out, and I suppose particularly this year, where it's speaking to the topic of water resilience, which is a topic that the President von der Leyen outlined in the State of the Union address last September. So it's a very important issue at the moment, a critical issue, one that is going to be, I think, front and center in the coming time. And certainly, I think it's something that you will be aware that there was water resilience initiative was to be launched earlier this year, but given the gravity of the situation and the importance of water as a transversal issue in policy terms, further reflection was required. So I think we will see in the next college, we will see water very clearly delineated and as a topic to be looked at in as I say, in the next mandate. So certainly, I think in terms of, going back to your question, how correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you looking at how policies are brought forward or how initiatives are brought forward. And certainly, I think the Green Week, as an example, shows how it's important to bring issues front and center, so that all stakeholders can see their importance, see how they fit into the broader work of what the Commission is doing, and how the work that is being carried out is of importance to all citizens and to all stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great to know that we are going to still have all these efforts to make Europe more resilient in so many ways. I would like to direct the question to Jan to follow the discussion on how you bring your results closer to consumers and to primary producers. I know we have worked together to get some practice abstracts published, but I'm sure that you are doing so much more.
Well, in the end, I'm also a scientist, so I'm eager to publish in scientific journals. But apart from it, of course, we have the press releases, and what is very important are the direct contacts that we have with the different industries. the casing industry, the compost industry, the mushroom growers. And at the moment that we have contact, we speak about also the results from the BIOSCHAMP project. So it's the direct contact, and apart from it, we publish also in the technical journals. And you will also see the messages appearing on LinkedIn, of course, Beatrice. Yeah.
Great. And Emilio, I know that CTEACH, that's the acronym for your research center, has magazine, and sometimes you publish there, not only related to the project, but in general topics that are of interest to farm mushroom producers. So is there anything that you want to highlight about how you disseminate your findings to the audience, to the general audience?
I think that the most effective, apart from the magazine that we did, that we do, is the workshops with the growers, and as say Jan, all the members of the chain, experts, companies. I think that is the most effective to communicate water resilience, water uses, and all of that.
And you do so by hosting it in your own like growing chambers, and you explain the attendees how everything works?
Normally, we organize training days here at CTEACH. Our main objective is with the growers, and we have some days that we can talk about problems of our sector, project results of some of that, and also the most popular is always disease training here. Okay, but I think that the workshops is the most effective line of communication with our growers, and the training days. Yes.
Okay. And just to wrap up this question, and we did the event, I wanted to ask Geoffrey, how, as a small company, how are you doing this connection with your, like, the wider audience?
Yeah, we also have tours in our pilot factory, and we're very pleased that we have that facility, also because it's helps the discussion with technology suppliers. And we see that the level of technology is very high nowadays. So we see there are so many opportunities. And for instance, we are very pleased that we know we are able to close the water loop, which is very important to us. But it also has another upside. It allows us to become self-sufficient in our energy needs, for instance. And that abilities also reduce the risk. And I think it's always good to look at innovation from a risk management perspective. And being self-sustainable in water, being self-sustainable in your raw materials and in your energy makes you to become more resilient as a business as well. So I think it all adds up.
Yeah, and also you can serve as a success case to people that are trying to make something similar and learn from your mistakes so they don't do it again. Typically, that peer-to-peer learning works very well.
Yeah. So there, I think the platform of Andrea comes in very handy. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, I would like to wrap up the event. I know we are a bit, we have extended us a little bit more than expected, but I hope that you stick with us through the entire event. I wanted to thank all of the speakers for having like participated in this event and provided their insights about this very interesting topic. And of course, I wanted to thank the audience for being present and learning with this about this topic with us. We hope to see you again in the future. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media. and join us in this trip to see water differently. Thank you, everyone.